I'm going to show you something. I don't know if this is familiar to you, Mike. Do you remember something that looked like this? I don't know if you can see it. Oops. Do you remember? That's a Sri Yantra. Anyway, let's go back to, that will remind you, because when you learn primordial sound, they use that as part of the teaching decoration or design in the room. Okay, so what is primordial sound meditation? Well, primordial sound meditation is based on primordial sounds. It's a silent sound meditation technique. Remember we talked about on the other call, we talked about how every meditation has 3 ingredients. The first ingredient is your gentle attention, your resolve to do the practice. The second ingredient is that's the first and the second, your resolve to do it and your gentle attention. And the third ingredient for any meditation is the focus of your meditation. And in a primordial sound meditation, your focus is a silent sound called a primordial sound, which is a mantra practice. Now, there's so many types of mantras in the world, but the Chopra Center and Deepak Chopra came up with a practice when he went to the ancient Shankaracharya's in India. Now, we talked about that book, Perfect Health, earlier, and how we were talking about Ayurveda, the science of life and longevity. These ancient sciences are kind of kept alive in India by what I would call the popes of India. There are 4 of them. They're called Shankaracharyas, and they're the keepers of this oral tradition, this Vedic wisdom. And Deepak had already been doing a silent sound meditation when he was doing transcendental meditation, where I was working as well in the transcendental meditation program. And he knew that he needed to continue to offer the people that had come to him for healing a practice that they could do and they could easily access and do on their own that would help them to increase their immunity, improve the mind-body connection, and relieve the body of any stress that impeded its ability to heal. And so when people would come to the Chopra Center, they would immediately learn how to meditate. And some people, I used to do the intake, and I'd ask them the question, do you meditate? And some people would say, well, I meditate when I watch TV. I meditate when I'm riding my bike. I meditate when I'm going for a walk. And meditate when I run. And though they might be meditating, it's not the same kind of meditation when you're sitting down with your eyes closed and allowing yourself to go to subtler and subtler levels of the thinking process so you can ultimately move to the transcendent experience that we were talking about earlier. That transcendent experience where you lose track of time and space, where you lose track of and go beyond your to-do lists and your responsibilities, where you go beyond your idea of who you think you are, you know, mother, teacher, son, father, this, that, or the other thing, those roles you take on, and the numbers and the letters. You go beyond your degrees and your numbers of your blood pressure and the money you have in the bank. You go beyond all of that when you sit in meditation. And when you use a sound meditation, it helps to interrupt the constant internal dialogue that you're having with yourself. Now, primordial sound meditation is a specific meditation that uses sounds that are based on a particular sound that was evident at the time of your birth, which sounds very woo-woo, but I'm talking to you from Sedona, Arizona, where I get to talk like this. But what is that sound? Where is it based from? What is it like? And what is a primordial sound to begin with? So I'm going to give you some examples of primordial sounds. Probably the first sound you've ever heard in your life was your mother's heartbeat, right? You also, if you've ever been in underwater in a pool or a tank, you can, or a flotation tank, you can hear your own breath and you can hear your own heartbeat. Those are primordial sounds. Another primordial sound example would be the sound of wind in the pine trees, or the sound of rain as it hits the ground. Or perhaps it could be the sound of lightning, which we call thunder. Or you could sit by the ocean, just simply listen to the waves as they come in and out and in and out. I like to call it the om of the ocean. So primordial sounds are sounds of nature. But what happens when you get your primordial sound, if you are learning to meditate, you go to get your primordial sound, is they will ask you for your birth date and place. Do you remember this when they did that for you? Your birth date and place and time? What happens then is it goes into a computer, and the computer system at the Chopra Center identifies at that particular time where the placement of the moon was in relationship to where you were born. And that placement of the moon indicates, it's like a bookmark. It indicates a particular sound that was prevalent at the time of your birth. Now, that sound was probably more like the sound of the wind in the trees or your heartbeat. But what they found is at thousands and thousands of years ago, the ancient rishis, which means seers, I call them listeners, they would sit with their eyes closed and they would listen to the changes in the sounds in the environment. And because the Vedas were an oral tradition, they started to put words to the sounds. We might do that when we say, what's the sound a cat makes? And we would say, meow, even though that doesn't sound like a cat necessarily. Or what's the sound of, a car driving down the driveway? Whoosh, maybe. Or the helicopters, maybe. But in primordial sounds, these rishis used to give words to sounds that were changing about 3 times a day. So your sound, Mike, when you were given your primordial sound as a mantra, might have been different than if someone were born in the exact same hospital 4 or 5 hours later. So the sound is used silently. It's a mantra. The word mantra means instrument for the mind. Man means mind, and tra means instrument. So a mantra, whether it's a primordial sound mantra you got from the Chopra Center, or whether you use the mantra that's Herbert Benson uses at the Mind Body Health Institute at Harvard, he uses the word one, or whether it's a mantra that they used in my ashram, where I showed you that woman lived, that was ma on the inhale and om on the exhale, done silently. There's another mantra that's very common. It's Om Namah Shivaya. I bow down to the wisdom or the consciousness that is looking through your eyes. Now, the mantras in transcendental meditation and in primordial sound meditation are not to ever be said out loud after you learn them. So if anyone asks you, Mike, what your sound is, you would probably say, I'm not going to tell you. Because once you've been given a sound, it's used in the silence. And the way you use it is just as simple as you would start repeating it silently to yourself. There's obviously an ancient, old poet, he's dead now, historic poet, his name is Lord Alfred Tennyson, I think his name is, and he used his own name for a mantra. So yes, it's important to get a mantra, or it could be important for some people to get a mantra from a reputable teacher, but it doesn't mean you can't use your own name for a mantra. So mantras are secretive, yes, but they're also powerful, because what they do, if you think about the word mantra, vehicle for the mind, it takes you from the level of activity that we're currently in right now, of mental activity of being awake, to the more subtle levels, and then ultimately to the most subtle level of silence. And it's not that you have more and more profound thoughts, do you? I mean, when you meditate, you might just have the same old thoughts. What time is it? What's that noise? I can't believe there's another siren. In my case, I can't believe there's another helicopter. What's my dog barking at? I forgot to call that guy back. I told him I would. All that stuff. It's those mundane thoughts that you're going to have in meditation. But it doesn't matter, because every time you notice your attention's drifted away from your mantra, you bring it back again and 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 again. I'll tell you more about the technique. Well, generally speaking, meditation should be done every day, if you can, or regularly. It's just the body loves rhythm. Twice a day would be ideal. But let me tell you about it. Your body loves rhythm. Think about it. You get up at the same time almost every day. You like to eat, eliminate, sleep at the same time every day. The body loves rhythm. It's good for the body. My dogs know exactly what time it is. You know, they know exactly what time it is supposed to eat. So the first time to meditate would be first thing in the morning. They used to say at the Chopra Center, RPM, rise, P, meditate. Don't get up and do your email. Don't sleep with your phone, for God's sake. Get up and go to the bathroom, then meditate. Get that out of the way. And people ask, well, why should I meditate first thing in the morning when I'm already pretty relaxed? I just had a good sleep. And the reason to meditate first thing in the morning is because you want to set this responsibility. You want to be able to be responsive as you wake up rather than reactive and jumping up and getting dressed and making the food and getting in the car and going to work and reacting to every single stimulus. If you start by becoming much more responsive through meditation and settling down the nervous system so you're in the parasympathetic response rather than the sympathetic fight or flight response, you're going to have a better day. So that's the first time a day to meditate. The second time a day to meditate is what I call happy hour, what you would normally do between work and dinner. A lot of people say, well, I like to meditate when I'm going to sleep. Well, that's a whole different thing. That can be relaxation. That could be more of an affirmative or a prescriptive type of meditation. But I suggest that people meditate at happy hour or at that hour between 4 and 6 p.m. to slough off the stress that's accumulated during the day and to set yourself up for a more relaxing, a restful evening. The idea of meditation is to meditate twice a day, same time every day if you can. It's nice to meditate at the same place if you can too, but it's not required. You can meditate in your car, a doctor's office. It's ideal to meditate without music also. If you happen to be an athlete and you like to run in the morning or lift weights or go to the gym, you want to wait for your heart rate to return to its normal resting state before you meditate because of the mind-body connection. So you set your timer. Now it can be, I use this timer, I'll show you. This is a pyramid timer, and you can get it at meditationtimer.com. You set it from anywhere from 0 to 60 minutes, and I just set it, and then it gives you enough time to put it down. Then I don't have to think about the time. I can just meditate, and this will go on to start, and then it'll go off in like 15. This one's 20 minutes. Here it sounds like this.
And that's such a
Then you sit back, get
sound.
comfortable. You don't have to sit in any kind of lotus posture. You get comfortable, close your eyes, and you begin the silent repetition of your primordial sound or your mantra, whatever one it is. Then as thoughts come, and we talked about this earlier, your job is to bring your attention back to the mantra again and again and again and again and again. It's a training. And eventually what this trains you to do is to become much more one-pointed, much more focused, and you get to be a lot more aware of the internal world that's going on there, what you're feeling emotionally, what your intuition is, what your thought patterns are, what your habits of mind are, what your self-limiting beliefs are. So twice a day, every day, and ideally for 20 to 30 minutes twice a day. And some people say, I can't do it, but you know what? Give it a shot. How much time do you spend on Blab? How much time do you spend on how much time do you spend surfing the internet for God knows what? So if you took the same amount of time and spent it on meditation, you might get a better value. 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 So let's talk about the differences between transcendental meditation and primordial sound meditation. Because this is being recorded and I have a lot of the inside scoop, I am not going to tell you. However, I will tell you what I feel comfortable telling you. Transcendental meditation is a trademark name, just like primordial sound meditation is a trademark name. Now, there are plenty of primordial sounds outside of primordial sound meditation, and there are plenty of ways to transcend outside of transcendental meditation. I just want you to know that. Transcendental meditation was founded by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in, it became famous with the Beatles in the 60s when they went out there and they learned to meditate. A lot of people learned to meditate in the 60s. It was given away for free. The mantras were offered for free. Again, these mantras are secretive. These particular mantras are a little different structure than the mantras for primordial sound meditation. The primordial sound meditation mantras generally begin with Om and end with Nama, which is or Namaha, which means I bow down to or I honor. In transcendental meditation, they simply use a 1 or 2 syllable word initially. These words are seed sounds or bija mantras that are based on the sounds of Hindu goddesses, the bija mantras relating to Hindu goddesses. Now, they probably wouldn't tell you that in an introductory lecture, and it's fine with me that I love the mantras. I use it. That was one of the first meditations I learned. However, I don't know if they'd tell you that, and it's a little disconcerting in that way. But again, it's a secret mantra. You can Google them. You can also Google primordial sound meditation mantras because they're not exclusive to these practices. But I'm not going to tell you what they are on this. They're very similar, again, using different mantras. The mantras are slightly different activations inside. Some are more activating, some are more transcendent. But the time period's different. The initial primordial sound meditation practice is 30 minutes. The initial TM practice is 20 minutes. TM is from the Saraswati lineage of monks in India, where I don't believe primordial sound meditation is. But I think they're both excellent techniques. I love all meditations. I used to be what you would call a meditation Nazi. I used to think there's only one way to do it, only one kind of meditator, only one perfect meditator. And anytime anyone would tell me they were doing Vipassana or mindfulness or loving kindness or metta or Tonglen or insight or any of the meditations, Shikantaza, Samatha, Rinzai, any kind, I would say, no, that's not the right kind of meditation. And I would tell them to do transcendental meditation. So that was where I started. I've come to love every kind of meditation. And I've come to recognize the benefits, both physically and mentally, and emotionally and spiritually, of all meditation. So I am no longer a meditation Nazi, although I am a meditation file. I love meditation. I love everything about it. I love the wisdom behind it. I love the effects of it. And I wish if everyone meditated, we would have peace on earth. I know it. And that's what I'm going for. That's why I teach every day, every single day. If you want to find out more about me, I think I mentioned, or a meditation in general, there's so many great books. I have a good one, apparently. There are a lot of study groups that people start around my books. It's an 8-week program. It's called Soul Centered, which is a way of being that's opposite of being codependent on the external world for your happiness. This is about finding that inner happiness. And I have got many meditations free on YouTube. You can go to my website, sedonameditation.com. You can also find it at McLeanmeditation.com, MCLEAN meditation.com, where I talk about the 5 essentials. You can listen to a number of meditations for free on there. And you can also, if you're visiting Sedona, it's usually on people's bucket list, come meditate with me. We meditate every day in my center. And I wish I could show you a picture of that, but it's not. I'm at my home right now where I used to teach until it became finally popular. I used to be considered weird, and now I'm just a meditation teacher. I also have a meditation teacher academy where we train meditation teachers from all over the world. We're the first licensed meditation teacher academy in Arizona and maybe perhaps the United States. I don't think there is one dedicated academy for meditation mindfulness teachers. So we have teachers from Finland to Pakistan to China to Aruba, and of course all throughout the United States and Canada. And they know what I know. And they're great to sit with. And some people need to sit with a teacher, so I recommend it.